Hello everyone, my name is Peter Cecile and today is going to be very exciting. I'm going to be showing you the step-by-step processes that are involved in applying for your study permit in Canada and also your visa. What is even a study permit? At what point do you apply for a study permit and a visa? I'm going to do a separate video to help you with a practical section where I go through my computer and then show you how to apply. But this video is just to show you what are all of the steps involved before we do the practical section. Okay, the very first thing is that you have applied for admission, and when you've applied for admission, you've gotten an offer letter. That offer letter basically states that you have been admitted to this particular institution, and then there is a start date, either September, which is the fall intake, or January, which is the winter intake, or May, which is the spring or spring intake. So once you've gotten that, it has to be from a designated learning institution. So no institution are called DLI, so make sure that any institution that you're applying for is a DLI institution. So those are the ones that are designated for for learning, and maybe probably that you can use to apply for your post-graduation work permit. And know that not all of the DLI are eligible for post-graduation. I will do a separate video to talk on that. So the next thing is, when you get your admission letter, look through and see if there is a condition in your admission. Sometimes they might require you to pay a tuition deposit or, admission deposit, whatever name that they call it. So everything will be spelled out in your admission letter. If you need to send, if it's a conditional offer and you need to send like your transcripts, they are going to put it. If you need to send your certificate, they are going to put all of those conditional offers, conditions associated with your admission. They will tell you the date to meet all of those conditions. One of those conditions are met, that's really when you can commence your study. Though there are some conditions that is okay, you have to meet it at the end of the first semester. So you have to read your letter very carefully to see that if there is anything you need to do prior to you for you getting your letter of acceptance. And mind you, what some do is that they send you what they call admission letter, and then that admission letter, they will ask you to pay a tuition deposit, right? When you now pay that deposit, they will now send you an offer letter, kind of separate from the one they sent you before. So check the letter very well if the one they sent you is eligible for study permit application, or you need to pay something for them to send you another document that they will use to apply for your study permit. Next is to begin to put your documents together. If you check the CIC website on documents needed for study permit application, you are going to see all of the documents that are involved. Your maybe medical report, police report, proof of funds, and all of these different things that are needed to apply for your study permit is very important, right? Your letter of explanation, that proof of funds. If you had scholarship, so you can add that as proof of funds, and you can also attach some extra things, as proof of funds. It's always better because it gives you kind of, a better opportunity. Don't just say, well, I have scholarship and then I'm not just going to do any other thing about proof of funds. Just as a backup is very, very important. So the next thing you need to do is to begin to put your documents together. And in order to do that, to actually know what documents that you need to provide, so the next thing is to actually go to the CIC website. I'm going to show you the practical steps on how to do that. CIC website, create a new account, and then fill in your information, and then start up an application. So when you start up an application, it's not going to tell you upload this document, upload this document, upload this document, upload this document, upload this document. So when you've uploaded all of the documents, then the next thing is, and you've submitted, in order to really validate your submission, you need to pay for the application fee. And if you're doing the application for the very first time, you have to pay what they call the biometrics fee, right? So that's what enables you to do your biometrics. And biometrics is valid for a couple of years, so you don't do that each time you apply. So when you submit your application, maybe after 4, maybe 2, 3 days, sometimes even a day, they send you a letter to say, okay, we've acknowledged the receipt of your application. Now it's time for you to come do your biometrics. So biometrics is really getting your, fingerprints and all of those things, So they will send you that letter. You take that letter to the visa application center, right? So the visa application center is where you do your biometrics, and then maybe you can call them to book a day. Depends on the place, right? You can call them to book a place for your biometrics, and they give you a time duration to do that biometrics after you submitted your application. So make sure you do your biometrics. So the earlier the better for you. So I would recommend immediately you get your letter for biometrics, go do your biometrics right away, because it speeds up your application. The more you wait, if you've not done your biometrics, your application has not really been fully submitted and they can't really process anything, right? So it's really good to do your biometrics as early as possible. Another thing is, once you've done your biometrics, then the next thing is the request for medicals or medical report. But if you've done what they call upfront is the medical test and all of the medical reports that you do before your application. So if you do like the upfront medical, so what happens is that they are going to they're not going to send you a letter to do the medicals again. It's a little bit faster, right? Because when they look at your application and see that you've done the upfront, then they just keep that process, probably approve that. And sometimes you can see the update in the applications to say that your medicals has been approved. But if you haven't done it before your application, if they request for your medicals, most times it means that they really want to approve your application for the most part. If you apply and right away they say, oh, we're sorry, they send you a denial letter, then they won't request for medicals, right? So if they request for medicals, then you will still have hope, and then there is positivity in your application. Then once you've done that, then the next thing after you've submitted your medical report, is to wait for the next message. The next message is usually the passport request or the approval letter. So and that passport request is, we've looked at your application and you're eligible for the temporary resident visa that you applied for. So submit your passport, make sure that there is a blank page in the passport and it has certain validity. So you see all those instructions in the letter. So the next thing for you to do is to pick up your passport, go to the visa application letter, drop your passport. Depends on, I know during the COVID, they were requesting for you to send your passport via courier. Maybe things might have changed, but always confirm. Depends on the country you're applying for. Always confirm from your visa application center and ask them what's the update. How do we go about passport submission at this point in time? And then if unfortunately you are not able to, they did not approve your application, they will send you a denial letter to say, hey, okay, these are the reasons why we did not approve your application. I will do a separate videos to talk about the top 5 things or reasons why why applications are not approved, so that when you have all these in mind, you can begin to avoid all of those things in order to make sure that your visa is approved. Then when you get your passport request, and then the next thing is that they send you letter of introduction. So the letter of introduction is basically the letter states that they've approved your application. Now that is not your study permit, but is your document needed to process your study permit. Now from my experience and from what I know, I don't know if things have changed now, they don't send study permit to your mail, right? So what they do is that with that letter of introduction and the passport with the visa, when you not travel to Canada, depends on the province that you're going to. When you get to Canada, let's say you land in Toronto or Montreal or Edmonton International Airport, depends on where you're coming from. Then you go to the the immigration part, then they ask you some certain questions. They might ask you where's your admission letter. They might ask you some few questions just to prove, just to satisfy that curiosity that okay, you are genuine, it is you, and that you really know what you're doing. So be prepared to know the programs that you applied for, the duration of the program, the start date, where you're staying, as the case may be. Then when you apply, when they will not issue your study permit. So that study permit is now the ticket that you actually need to study in a university. So from Toronto or from that international airport, you go to your province and then to your university. If you arrived before school resumed, you can start to go around school and begin to do some pre-registration. Then you will still see exactly when the registration date is starting. So when you get to the university, there is always an international office in every university. So the international office will give you like a document that shows step-by-step things of what you need to do when you arrive in Canada. I can do a separate video to talk about when you arrive, what are some of the few things that you need to do in order to really put you in that best position not to suffer and have a lot of issues when you arrive. And then you come to your university, you register for your courses. If you are coming for a master's program or PhD, you have to have conversation with your supervisor. The supervisor will not let you know which courses you need to apply, you need to register for, and then based on your need. If you're an undergraduate student, you always have like undergrad advisor in your department. Make sure you seek advice before registering for your courses so that you know what courses are important at that particular stage in time. You don't want to make mistake and then go register for a course that is not important, and then you sort out your accommodation and some other things that you need to do. So these are some of the things and some of the steps involved, from applying and also to the point of arrival in Canada. I hope this video helped you. If you really learned a lot in this video, do well to share this video with your friends and then hit on the like button, and also subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And then if you have any question, you can leave the question in the comment section. Which stage are you at in regards to study permit application? What specific questions do you have? What are some of the things that are not clear? And then I will just try to answer some of those questions as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you in the next video. Peter Cecily from GradNext Mentorship. Have a wonderful day.